Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Welcome to yet another reading like Rory Gilmore for a week. Struggling with a lot in this book. I don't know if I like what's going on. Are you just poking your nose where it doesn't belong? I've been doing this series on my channel for a while now because I'm trying to read through the entire Rory Gilmore reading challenge, which is over 200 books, which is crazy. There's a bunch of different versions of this online, but I'm just doing one I found on Pinterest a while ago. And like I said, I've been working through this for a really long time, mostly because Rory Gilmore and I have opposite reading styles. I feel like she reads a lot of classics and I just don't read a ton of classics just like naturally out and about on my own. So I love doing these videos because I feel like I am branching out and I'm picking up books that I might not have picked up without doing this reading challenge. So without further ado, we're just gonna hop right in and we are going to start with the first book, which is actually Bel Canto. Now I've read Ann Patchett before. I read Tom Lake a couple years ago. I liked that book, but I wasn't like obsessed with it. So I'm excited to see what I think about this one. And I also feel like this is one of her beloved works. So I'm very excited. I'm also going into this book fully blind. I have no idea what this book is about, but it is on Kindle Unlimited. So we're gonna start this one with my good old trusty Kindle. Also, to get into the Rory Gilmore spirit, I decided to make myself a little afternoon cup of coffee, which I don't normally do. I try to only have one cup of anything caffeinated in the morning, but I thought it was a special occasion and you know, I need to get into the Gilmore Girls spirit. I also do already have Gilmore Girls on in the background, so I'm gonna sip my coffee and read for a little bit. I just made it to chapter 3, which is 21% of the way through this book, and I'm very on the fence about this one. I don't think I love the writing style. It is written in third person omniscient, which normally I do like third person, but I'm just not sure if it works for this book because there's so many characters and you're getting a lot of flashbacks and it's kind of like, okay, how is this important to the story? Why do I care about all of these different characters? And I also feel like because of the way it's written and because you're in so many different characters' point of views and so many different flashbacks, that when you put the book down, it kind of takes a second to get back into the book. Because you're kind of like, okay, whose mind was I in when I put this book down? At least for me, it takes a second to get back into it. And I am someone that will like pick up my Kindle or my phone to read at any point throughout the day, even if it's like just 2 pages. So that is something I am struggling with a lot in this book. Now, the story itself I find really interesting. I'm just on the fence on if I like the writing style or not. But essentially we have this group of people that some of them are politicians and they're at this very elaborate birthday party. And I mean like very elaborate. Like this party is so elaborate that they have an opera singer here to perform just for the birthday party. And so they're at this birthday party when it becomes a hostage situation. So this book is reminding me a lot of Anxious People. I do feel like this book was probably written first. I'm not entirely sure though. I could be very, very wrong. But I would have to say so far I like the structure of Anxious People more than I like the structure of this book. And because the premise of Anxious People and this book are so similar, I feel like it's kind of setting up Bel Canto for failure because I feel like there's no way to not compare the two when they are so similar. And I did really like Anxious People. So unfortunately right now I feel like there's not a strong outlook for this one, but I do still have some hope that I will end up really liking this book. I feel like this is a prime example of when you start to read a lot of books and they become repetitive, and it kind of sucks sometimes when you find a book that is very similar to a book that you already really like, because I feel like that new book is now being held to a higher standard because it's reminding you of a book that you already really like and really enjoy. So that's what's happening here. I hope that all makes sense. Anyway, I'm going to go back to reading. I just made it 81% of the way through this book. I'm on chapter 9 and I'm just now having the realization that I don't think I really like this book. And I only had that realization because I realized that when I'm reading the book, I'm not really having fun. I'm just thinking about how I want the book to be over, which is not a good feeling at all. I think just now that I am towards the end of the book, I'm realizing that I'm a bit bored. I'm not super engaged with the story and it's starting to feel very slow, very repetitive because obviously they're in this captive situation and there's only so much you can do when you are stuck inside with essentially a random group of people because you don't really know the other people. And it also took me this long to realize that I am not in love with the writing style of this book because there's no break when we switch being in someone else's mind, because like I said earlier, it's third third person omniscient, so we are going between everyone else's minds. And I want to say Anxious People does this, and I know it's kind of annoying that I keep comparing this book to Anxious People. I know it's annoying me too because I'm doing it in my head while I'm reading the book. But anyways, I don't have a physical copy of Anxious People because I read that at the public library. But if I remember correctly, in Anxious People, when you switched the point of view of like the character's mind that you are in, it happens at least at a chapter break or a page break or something like this. This will just do it in the middle of the chapter. And obviously, like, I'm almost done with the book. I'm 81% of the way through and I'm only on chapter 9. There's not a ton of chapters in this book, so I kind of wish that there was a little bit more of a distinctive, okay, now we're moving on to this character and now we're in this character's mind. And I haven't found myself being confused at all. I'm not saying that by any means. I think that the way it's written makes it really easy to read and it's not confusing. I just don't love the actual writing style of it. It's just personal preference. And we're also just in so many different characters' minds that I don't know if I like being in that many characters' minds. Also, I feel like I alluded to this earlier, but there is not a ton going on. I feel like this book is very much character focused. It's very much a character study, but there is one thing that I just like can't wrap my head around. What do you mean the vice president is in this group of captives and the government or whoever is working on the outside to try to get them out, which we have no idea what's going on the outside of this house, by the way. But to me, it seems like if the vice president is in a captive situation, they would try a little bit harder to get them out. You know what I mean? Like, the vice president most likely would not be in a captive situation for weeks on end. At least I don't think that they would be. I feel like that would be just crazy, but that's what's going on here. So I don't know. That's kind of weird to me. It just like feels unrealistic to me. Anytime they talk about the vice president, I'm like, how is he still here? Anyways, I feel like that just made it sound like I hate this book. I don't hate it. I am just kind of at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this to be done because I'm ready to move on. Like, I'm a little bit over the repetitiveness. You know, maybe things will kind of shake it up from here. I'm really hoping that I can't guess the ending and that the ending is very different from Anxious People. I'm not going to tell you if the ending is different or not, but that is my hopes as of right now. It has been a couple of days since I updated because I have been a very busy girl. It's been like 4 days since we last chatted, so we have some updates. But first, the biggest update and why I've been so busy the past couple of days. I got engaged. You guys probably already know at this point because I think that there'll be 1 or 2 more videos going up before this video goes up. So you guys will probably have already known at this point, but it is very fresh to me while I'm filming this right now. I'm obsessed. I'm like, pinch me, I'm dreaming. Anyways, back to the books though. I did finish Bel Canto. I think it was like 3 days ago at this point. Yes. And I have not thought about this book since. I think I'm gonna give it 2.5 star, maybe a 3 star. I keep toggling back and forth between the two because do I think that this book was inherently bad? No, not at all. I just think that it was not my taste and not really what I was looking for in a book. And there were a couple things in the book that I will get into that I didn't love. Of course, spoiler free, but I want to start off by saying I had no idea that this book was based on a true story until I started scrolling through the Goodreads reviews, and then I was not only shocked, but I was also just confused on why the author didn't include that in the book at all. Like, to me, I would think that that would be somewhere either like after the dedication or maybe in the author's note. I didn't see it anywhere in this book, and it was super weird to me because she also doesn't mention the actual country that this takes place in at all. She just kind of goes like this around the country, if that makes sense. Like, she never specifically states it. I can't remember where exactly this is. I think it's maybe Peru that this like actually took place in, like in real life, which is wild that this was based on a true story because I literally said, I don't know, like a couple clips ago that I was like, this does not make any sense. Like, this is not realistic. Like, why would these negotiators just keep literally the vice president locked up into this house and like kind of just not care about him? I feel like how the book ends would have happened like weeks before we got to that point, or even like something similar, something different. I don't know. I wish that we had gotten the point of views from the like negotiators and the police as well. I feel like that would have been so interesting. It actually very much bothered me that she did not mention where this was taking place, because throughout the entire book when she would like mention different things, I'd be kind of like, okay, this doesn't really make sense. Like, where are they? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, why is no one speaking the same language? Like, this, I'm confused. And then also something that made me so uncomfortable was as soon as the author made a point to mention the age of one of the girls that was there, the author was essentially like, oh yeah, this girl. The author just made sure that we knew as the audience that this girl was 17, and that made me very uncomfortable, especially because we don't know the age of anyone else at all. Like, I feel like the only thing that was ever talked about age-wise was like someone having gray hair, and like that's it. I also really didn't like the epilogue, so I feel like this book ended on a poor note to me. It was just very unrealistically sappy, and I was just like, how did we get to this point? Because the epilogue was a year after the book had ended, and I was just like, did this come out of left field for anyone else, or is that just me, you know? But at this point, I am genuinely relieved that I finished that book, because while I was reading it, I was like, is this the book's fault, or am I just feeling a little bit slumpy? Like life slump and book slump. Like, I genuinely could not tell. But I have already started our next book and I am having a blast. I will say I'm not very far into it. Could I tell you really what's going on, what's happening, where the story is supposed to be going? No, but I'm gonna say that that's just because I just started this book and I actually haven't been reading it a ton. I've been like reading multiple books at the same time, but I think this one is specifically because I have been listening to the audio while I physically read the book, which has been so fun. But this is Emma by Jane Austen. This is, I think, my fourth Jane Austen book. I don't know. I think my favorite from her so far is Sense and Sensibility, but I'm very excited to read this one because there are so many Emma retellings that I want to read. But of course I wanted to read the original first, so that's what we're doing. And like I said, I've been listening to it while reading it, and that has been actually so fun. And also, since Jane Austen just got into the public domain, I think it was sometime late last year that all of her work became in the public domain. But I'm assuming because of that, there's so many different audiobooks available. Like, I have listened to snippets of like 4 different audiobooks and I am only on chapter 4, literally, so I'm not very far into the book at all. But I need to stop doing that because I feel like there's like kind of a disconnect now, because I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, I have been switching around way too much. I need to calm down. But I will say, if you are interested in an audiobook, my favorite of the 4 snippets that I have listened to so far is the one from Audible. It's an Audible original. Unfortunately, I literally just canceled my Audible subscription literally less than a week ago. I think it was literally 4 or 5 days ago that I canceled it. So that is very devastating. I was thinking about re-upping it so that I could listen to this audiobook. It's an Audible original, and I forgot what it's called when they do this kind of audiobook, but it has multiple different narrators and it also has like sound effects in it. And like I said, I'm obsessed with that one, but that one I don't feel like you can actually like read while listening to it, at least the 5 minutes that were free for my preview with that one, simply because when they do the sound effects, they normally like kind of do them in place of things. So like it didn't match up with the book absolutely perfectly. But I can't even lie, I am thinking about renewing my Audible subscription just so I can listen to that, because it was so good. Like, it was actually so good. I might have to. I'm gonna think about it because, like I said, I've been having so much fun just immersively reading this book, so I don't know if I want to stop doing that, but that audiobook was actually so good. Like, if you want to just audiobook it, highly recommend that one. Anyways, we will yap a little bit more later once I am a little bit further into this book and I have some more concrete thoughts on it. As you saw yesterday, I switched to the audiobook, so I just had a little audiobook and walk session, which was actually so much fun. Yesterday, I realized that I am not loving physically reading this book, but I do like the audiobook, and I honestly feel like part of the reason why I like the audiobook is because the narrator is British, and I just love British voices. I feel like everyone in America just loves the British accent, so that is a big reason why I like the audiobook. Also, for some reason with the audiobook, I literally feel like the Audible ads right now. But I was gonna say, for some reason with the audiobook, I can picture this book so much better. When I'm listening to the audiobook, I am seeing like clips of like Downton Abbey-esque in my head, versus when I'm physically reading it, I'm like, what is going on? Like, I can't picture any of this and I kind of don't care. But anyways, I'm about halfway through chapter 18, so I have about 10.5 hours left of the audiobook. And essentially this book follows Emma, obviously our main character, and Emma is quite the matchmaker. And I say that in like quotes because I feel like Emma thinks that she's a matchmaker, but to me, I'm like, Emma, are you just poking your nose where it doesn't belong? I don't know, I'm kind of getting that vibe from Emma for some reason. But I can't even lie to you guys, I actually was thinking about DNFing this book yesterday because when I think about like physically picking up this book, I actually will do anything but physically pick it up. Like I will pick it up, read a page or two, and then be like, oh, I need to also do this, and oh, I should do this, and oh, I need to clean, and whatever. Like that's just how I feel when I pick it up physically. And at first I was like, am I in a book slump? But I actually picked up a different book last night before going to bed and literally read until my eyes closed of their own accord. Like I wanted to read that book a lot, but I just have not wanted to really read Emma, which I feel bad saying because I'm like, it's a classic. But just because it's a classic doesn't mean I have to like it, you know? But that's how I was feeling yesterday, but today, now that I've switched over to the audiobook, I'm definitely liking it a lot more. And so I'm not sure if I will switch back to the physical copy at this point. I will say though, I feel like when I audiobook things, I sometimes like miss important bits of information. Anyway, right now it kind of feels a little bit in the middle of the road. Like I'm not hating it, not loving it, but also, and this is gonna sound so silly, but I'm just excited to be able to read a bunch of these different Emma adaptations. I think there's also an Emma type of movie. Did I make that up? Maybe. I don't know. I do that sometimes. I have quite the busy day today. It is Easter when I'm filming this. I have some Easter type of things going on this morning. My birthday is pretty soon. Obviously, I threw myself a little book birthday party yesterday, which felt very Rory Gilmore of me, let me just say. And then I'm also celebrating someone else's birthday in my life. So lots of different celebrations going on this weekend. But you already know that is not going to stop me from getting some reading in. It has been at least a week since we last spoke, but I did in fact finish Emma. I just didn't want to give any updates because I didn't love this book and I didn't know what to say because I couldn't exactly pinpoint why I didn't love it other than the fact that it's Old English, it's a classic, it's just like not what I'm used to. It's a little bit out of my comfort zone, and to me it was out of my comfort zone in a bad way. You guys know I don't like talking bad about a book ever, especially one that's a classic, because I feel like it's a classic for a reason, and I've read other Jane Austen books that I have liked. I just did not love this one, but I just feel like Rory would be so disappointed in me because I did not like this book, and I definitely don't feel like it's the book's fault, which is why I don't think I'm going to give this book a rating. And I think I've said this maybe 3-4 times already in this video. I'm excited to see the other adaptations of this book because I genuinely don't think it's the storyline, although I will say Emma likes to poke her nose in places I feel like it does not belong. But anyways, I don't feel like it's the storyline. I just feel like it was the Old English and the style of this book. I just could not make myself care about anything that was going on. Unfortunately, this video has 2 not so amazing books in a row. I didn't love the first book either. You know what, that's okay. We are branching out and I feel like that's what matters, at least to me when I'm filming these videos. Rory and I literally could not be any different when it comes to our reading tastes, but as you saw, I did actually start my next book, which is the Unabridged Journals of Sylvia Plath, and I've been wanting to read this for a while now. I think it was actually in my last Rory Gilmore reading vlog where I read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I did really like that book. I think that might be one of the top classics that I've read. I don't have a ton of classics that I've super loved and enjoyed, but that one is definitely a top contender. I'm not entirely sure what reading vlog that book is in, but anyways, ever since I read that book, I've just been so interested in Sylvia Plath and her life and her story, which is why I wanted to pick up these journals so badly. And I am only on page 20 of this book, so I am very early on into the book, but it is already apparent that she is going through some horrible things. So going off of that same frame of thought, if you are thinking about picking up these books, make sure to check the trigger warnings. It has already been heavy at some points and I'm very early on. And also, as you can tell, this book is very thick, and so when I picked up this book this morning, I told myself if I start to feel any kind of negative mental side effects from reading this book, I'm going to just immediately put it down. I can always come back to it, and I probably will come back to it because like I said, I'm just so fascinated. So we'll see if I can get through this book without taking a break or not. I feel like if I picked up this book a little bit over a year ago, I would not have been able to read it at all. So I'm honestly proud of just how how far I've come in a little bit over a year. And it's crazy how much things can change. Anyway, I think there's a lot to dissect about Sylvia Plath, and I don't necessarily think that I'm the best person to sit here and do that, but I still find her so fascinating. And it's not just her either, it's honestly any public figure, which is why I love memoirs so much. And I also just love any book with journals or letters or any kind of aspect like that. Like, I'm actually thinking about reading, I think there's an entire bind up of Jane Austen's letters, which I feel like that might be fun to read as well. Something about me is that I will always be fascinated about other people's lives. I think that's also why I love to watch vlogs so much. I'm just like, oh, what are you guys doing? Let me get a little sneak peek into your life, you know? I'm going to go back to reading now. Like I said, there's no promises that I will finish this book in this video, but I'll definitely get as far as I can because so far I am really enjoying it. It doesn't feel like a book that I can sit down and read for hours and hours and hours, but I read it for about 30 minutes this morning and I was just enjoying it. I was having fun. It was like the perfect amount of time, at least in my opinion. It's been a while. I've been slowly reading through this book. I'm on page 108 and she is now a sophomore in college, so I think she's 19, and I actually tabbed a passage that I wanted to read to you guys, and for some reason this passage sounds familiar to me. I think it gets quoted sometimes, but I was kind of shocked to read this because I wasn't expecting to find anything about this book to be relatable, like at all, but I do find this passage a little bit relatable. And I feel like if you are in your 20s and you're kind of trying to figure out what you want to do and just like discovering yourself and who you are as an adult, I feel like this passage really encompasses that, which is crazy because she was 18 when this was written. It says, "What is my life for and what am I going to do with it? I don't know and I'm afraid. I can never read all the books I want. I can never be all the people I want and live all the lives I want. I can never train myself in all the skills I want. And why do I want? I want to live and feel all the shades, tones, and variations of mental and physical experience possible in my life." I thought that that was just a nice passage and kind of encompasses how a lot of people seem to feel in their 20s. And like I said, I was surprised to relate to this book at all, and I feel like that passage is definitely something that I relate to. Like, there's so many different things I want to do and so many different skills that I want to acquire, and there's only so much that you can do with your life, and you make so many decisions, especially when you're younger. Like at this time, like she's a freshman in college, she's making these big life decisions that like she doesn't even realize. Like the other day I was thinking, okay, what if I did end up changing my major to English? Because in college I was actually thinking about changing my major to English, but I ended up keeping it in finance, which are two very different majors, very different career paths. So I was just thinking, like, what if? Like, my life would be so different right now if I had decided to go down that path. But anyways, I find this book really interesting because for someone so young, like she's only 19, and in the beginning of the book she's only 18, I feel like she has a lot of complex thoughts and emotions, and maybe just in this time period that's just like how people were. This is early 1950s, but I just find it really surprising. And also another thing I found surprising was how much of her journals is about like love and things like that, and one of her main goals is to find a partner. And like I said, she's 19. To me, this is so crazy, and I just feel like that is truly a testament to how much has changed, obviously, since the 1950s. Like, she even says at one point in her journal that her goal is to find a partner in the next 3 years. Like, she wants to find her husband before she leaves college, which I'm not saying any of this is a bad thing. I just found it surprising for some reason, which I don't know. I should have known because it was the 1950s. I just kind of saw Sylvia Plath as a career person because she ended up writing all these novels and poems and things. And I feel like nowadays a lot of people know who Sylvia Plath is because her books are classics, you know? Anyways, I definitely don't think this book is for everyone, but I am very much enjoying reading her journals. And I can't help but think about how if she knew so many people have read her journals, like, what would she be thinking? Would she be like, yeah, that means I'm famous? Or would she be like distraught over the fact that people have read her journals? Because if it was me, I don't know. I don't know how I would feel. Anyways, that was a very long update simply for the first 100 pages of this book, but I'm excited for the rest of it. And I'm kind of excited, but also a little bit scared to see how things go later in her life. So we'll see. I'm gonna keep trucking along in this book and I will update you on all of my thoughts and feelings. I just made it to page 189 in here and I am enjoying it, but it is the perfect time for me to take a break from this book because there are technically 4 different journals in this book and then a pretty long appendix of like different journal segments and like smaller journal snippet highlights and things like that towards the end. And I just finished the first journal, and like I said, I am enjoying it. I'm just craving a good story right now. I'm craving a good book because I have not had the best of luck in this video, and I definitely want to finish reading her journals. I just want to take a break. I find journals in general to be very interesting, so we will probably finish this together in a different reading vlog. But for now, I am gonna put this book down. I'm just very excited to get into a different book right now and do a little bit more mood reading. So with that, that is the end of this video. I had so much fun reading like Rory Gilmore. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!